Good evening, students. Today we are going to discuss the topic is the life cycle of frog. The frogs, male and female, they are doing fertilization. Male is releasing sperm, female is releasing ovaries. Both are fusing. Further, it is forming a zygote. The fertilization is now called as a external fertilization. So the eggs are releasing into that water. That's why the fertilization is called as external fertilization. From egg stage to adult stage, various developmental stages are going on in life cycle of frog. So amphibians generally, amphibians both, BA means living organisms. They are living either freshwater, either terrestrial. Likewise, the life cycle of frog is now. We will continue. Here, life cycle of frog. The amphibians include three modern day groups of animal: the legless, worm-like Sicilians found in the tropics, the tailless frogs and toads collectively called Enerans, and the tailed salamanders. Likewise, amphibians include three modern day groups. They are different types. For example, toads, Enerans, etc. Many of these animals live on dry land as adult, but the typical amphibian's life cycle occurs at least partly in the water or in moist environment. Generally, frogs, the skin it contains moist-like structures. The frogs are living in summer season and winter season. The period that is called as a estivation period and hibernation period. When the frogs are there in summer season, if the temperature is rising, they are going into the wet places. Likewise, so many of these animals live in dry lands, adults, but the typical amphibian's life cycle occurs at least partly in the water. The real life of these animals on land and in the water gives this group its name amphibia, meaning double life. So likewise, amphibia means it is called as a double life. A life cycle refers to the stages or changes that animals goes through while it's alive. A life cycle repeats itself for each new generation of life. So likewise, the life cycle is going on. And next one, continuation part. There are lots of different kinds of animals living on earth and many different types of animals' life cycles. Mammals, including human beings, have babies that look similar to adult. Baby mammals grow bigger and bigger until they are full grown. So in this ecosystem, each and every species we have to protect. If we are not protecting, the species will not survive. So the parents are protecting their young ones. Likewise, amphibians also protecting their eggs or their young ones. Other animals, including beetles, frogs, and butterflies, go through a process called, that is the metamorphosis process. So metamorphosis process is present in for example, frogs. Metamorphosis is a big word that means changing from one form into another. So this is the definition of the metamorphosis, one form to another. Life cycle of frog, it involves various stages. They are breeding, egg stage, tadpole stage, and froglet stage, and adult frog stage. Now coming to this point, here some diagrams also there. In this field visit, collected some eggs here. We will observe here. So different types of ponds or some lakes or wherever stagnant water are there in rainy season, at that time the eggs are releasing frogs. So different stages we can observe in this life cycle of frog. See here, first one is the egg stage. Okay, the egg is somewhat developing here, so that is the embryo. And next one, next stage is called as a tadpole stage. And now hindlings are coming here. So when the hind limbs are coming, after that it is reaching next stage, the process metamorphosis. And forelimbs also coming here. Whenever forelimbs and hind limbs both are coming, the tail is reducing. So from egg stage to this stage, now they are doing respiration with the help of gills. From when forelimbs and hind limbs both are coming here, so lungs also developing at this stage, the tail is reducing. When lungs become functional, the tail is reducing completely. Now the stage is called as a adult stage. So the stage is called as a adult frog stage. We can observe here all those things in this diagram. Okay. Now next stage, that is the breeding stage. The breeding season for frogs usually occurs during the rainy seasons in tropical climates. When male frogs are ready to breed, they often use loud croaking calls to attract patterns. Male produce these calls by filling a vocal sac with air and moving the air back and forth to create chirp-like sounds. Likewise, the male and female both are coming in near here at the time they are doing fertilization. At the time the male is releasing sperm and female is releasing ovas or ovaries. So when mating, the male from frog holds onto female's back, clasping his front legs around her waist or neck. This embrace is referred to as a amplexus. So amplexary pads, it contains, with the help of amplexary pads, they are catching and they are doing fertilization. So the fertilization is going on at the time they are releasing eggs. Its purpose is to ensure that the male is in the optimal position to fertilize the female eggs as she lays them. So here we can observe in this picture where some stagnant water are there during rainy season. At the time male and female both are mating here. And another point, next the stage, the very important stage from this stage, beginning stage, that is the egg stage. We will observe here different types of eggs here. See in this picture, frog eggs can usually be found in a calm or static waters. Frog eggs floating in pond, these clusters of floating eggs are called egg mosses. Likewise, group-like structures are forming. So in these group-like structures, egg mosses is forming. Frog can lay thousands of eggs at once. They are covered in a jelly which makes them slippery. So gel-like substances here it is releasing. So the jelly protects them from other animals eating the eggs. The eggs float on water in a jelly moss. The egg will soon hatch into tadpole. So from egg stage, now it is reaching soon to the tadpole stage. We can observe here in this picture, it is very clear. The eggs and continuation part. A female can lay 1000 to 2000 eggs. Often mating, she leaves the water and male will look for other partners. Frogs congrats in large number during breeding, so many sperm clumps will be produced in one pond. Usually 6 to 21 days after being fertilized, they will hatch. So male group of the male, the that is releasing eggs or sperm, that is called as a male. Group of the wasp, that is called as a female frog, it is releasing sperm, that is. We can observe here in this water eggs of frogs. We can observe here dorsal view and ventral view also in middle diagram. Life starts right as the central yolk splits into, then divides into 4, then 8, until it's look a bit like a raspberry inside a jelly cup. Soon the embryo starts look more and more a tadpole, getting longer and moving about its egg. Now the eggs are ready to hatch into tadpole. See here, first diagram, round like structure is forming, that is the egg. We can observe middle diagram, dorsal and ventral view, and after 1 day or 48 hours, gum like structure wherever it is forming, round ball like structure, on that egg central region, somewhat developmental stages, the stage that is called as a tadpole stage. We can observe very clear in this picture. And next one, the stage that is called as a tadpole stage. After early development in fertilized egg, tailbud larva is formed within 65 to 84 hours after fertilization. The tadpoles breathes using gills and moves like a fish. Now it looks like a fish-like structure. With the help of gills, they are doing what is that respiration. Tadpole stage now hatch from the eggs with poorly developed gills, mouth and tail. So mouth and tail both are present here. After 7 to 10 days, the tadpoles will start to swim around and eat algae and other vegetation, so they considered as herbivores. Now feeding is the feeding is going on. So likewise, the tadpoles, they are eating different types of algae. By week 4th, tadpoles are active and social. It looks like a fish then frog. It doesn't have any legs. So in this picture, we can observe here first diagram, somewhat tail, developmental stages of tadpoles, and the second diagram we can observe it is a fish-like structure, and third diagram we can observe here the stage eyes are developing here, heart is forming now, tail is forming. With the naked eye we can observe everything. So likewise the developmental stages are going on. And next to continuation part, during this time the tadpole starts to develop lungs, so it will be able to breathe out of the water when it becomes of a frog. Now the tadpoles also starts to grow 2 hind legs. Now it can leap around swimming. It has a very long tail. Now in this stage the tail is very long and hind legs also, or hind limbs also forming. The hind limbs are coming somewhat outside here. We can observe in this picture also. The embryos developed quickly depending on water temperature, and tadpoles begin to form external gills and mouth. So external gills and mouth both are forming now. At this stage, external gills are using for breathing, and tail keeps on growing of tadpoles. Tail keeps growing on tadpole, and with the help of gills they are breathing now. Fish-like young tadpole is a external gill stage. The body is dividing now head region and trunk region and tail region. Okay. In this picture we can observe first diagram and second diagram. Okay. In ventral view, somewhat red mark, that is the heart, and third diagram we can observe tadpole larvas. Now, external gills stage. Here, three pairs of external gills, olfactory pitch is present, herbivorous, long and coiled alimentary canal is present, hornigia is present this stage. See here, in limbs also coming somewhat outside here, gills we can observe, it is very clear, gills, with the help of gills they are doing respiration. So external gills are formed here in this stage, and next one, the stage is internal gill stage. Four pairs of internal gills are forming. Gills clefts are also present here. Operculum open towards left side. Spiracles also present in this stage. Respiratory siphons also present. Tail with tail fin. Kidneys are mainly pronephric. Okay. So external gills and internal gills both are forming here. See the continuation part. Oxygen is exchanged from water with the help of gills and tail fin skin. So oxygen, it contains water. In this stage, dissolved oxygen is present. So likewise, oxygen is taking H2O, oxygen. Excretory waste is mainly ammonia. When aquatic animals they are living, at that time they are releasing ammonia. The excretory product is called as a ammonotelic organisms. Heart is now two chambered, one atria and one ventricle. In limbs are present in this tadpole larva stage. So likewise, internal gills and external gills both are forming. Now next stage, a very important stage here, that is the metamorphosis stage. Metamorphosis is the change of shape during animal life. Metamorphosis is controlled by a thyroid gland. If we put iodine is added or iodine is added in water, metamorphosis will increase. So this is the process, that is the metamorphosis. We can observe first diagram on leaf. The heart is forming and blood vessels also forming. At this stage, the pumping of blood in various parts. We can observe very clear heart in ventral view, mouth also, okay, tail, gills, etc. And the second picture, eye of tadpole, we can observe here eyes. Eye is developing, eye, and above the surface region skin. So the eye is now developing completely. It is the developmental stage. And next continuation part. If extract of thyroxine is injected, rate of metamorphosis will increase. If thyroid gland is removed, no metamorphosis. During metamorphosis, tadpole stops feeding, tail starts disappearing with action of cathepsin enzyme, cement glands disappear. Locomotion by limbs, true jaw become functional. Habitat become carnivorous and herbivorous. Heart is three chambered now, two atrias and one ventricle. So it is developmental stage. Now eyes are increasing in this size and maximum changes takes place circulatory system. So closed type of circulation, blood vessels also forming, that's why blood is flowing through the blood vessels, that's why it is called as a closed type of circulation. Nutrition provided by dissolving and respiration by lungs. When lungs become functional, the somewhat developmental stages, this is also one of the very important point. Tongue is now elongated, kidney mesonephric, lateral line system here disappear in this stage. Forelimbs comes out by breaking of operculum skin. Middle ear develop and columella and tympanum. Color of skin becomes somewhat yellowish color. Life of tadpole is 2 to 2.5 months. life cycle completed into approximately 2 to 3 months. See here ventral picture in first diagram and we can observe here gills and hind limbs. In middle diagram we can observe eyes. It looks like now fish like structure. Third diagram we can observe here gills and hind limbs coming outside somewhat. Small layer is forming on that small layer. Within the small layer hind limbs we can observe in this picture. And next one, tadpole with leg stage. Between week 6 to 9 the tadpole will begin to form their legs. Their body continues to develop, forming a more distinct head. Head region is now developing. During this stage, tadpoles eat dead insects like plants. By dead insects and plants. By week 9th, they will look like a frog. With a long tail, it is now well on its way to being almost full grown. Tadpole with hind legs over about 24 hours period, the tadpole develops into now somewhat frog-like structure. Tadpole with hind and front legs. After the hind legs have started to form, a pair of front legs will begin to develop and the tail will start to disappear now might have tadpole form a frog-like face. So frog-like face is forming here. We can observe first diagram a pair of eyes and round-like structure, intestine also forming, and posterior part, that is the tail. And second picture also we can observe here, and third picture also we can observe here hind limbs, eyes and dorsal region and tail. Okay, so continuation. Next one, the stage that is the froglet stage or it is also known as a young frog stage. The tadpoles turn into froglet stage. The body shrink and legs form. Legs are forming here now. In limbs and forelimbs also somewhat developing in this stage. By week 12, the froglet will have only a stub for a tail. The froglets look like a smaller version of frog. It grows lungs and legs. Its gills disappear now. Its tail gets shorter until it disappears too. So likewise, day by day, when tail is reducing, the lungs become functional. Hind limbs also coming outside are developing. Forelimbs also coming outside. So hind limbs and forelimbs here developing. And next, the froglet swims to the top of the water to breathe air. Soon it will leave the water. The tadpole uses the nutrients stored in its tail as food. So until its tail is completely gone, it doesn't need anything else to eat. Just a little stub of its tail is left and the tadpole is young frog. So the tail is reducing day to day or day by day. At the time the lungs are developing, they are eating food material. Likewise, we can observe hind limbs. It is very clear and what is that eyes we can observe in dorsal view of a frog. So continuation, next part. Now it hops right out the water and onto dry land. For the first time, the frog is still very small. So when tail is reducing, forelimbs and hind limbs are coming. At the time, the frog it is converting or it is forming complete frog. At that time, the frog is coming from water. It is now reaching into the adult stage of frog. At that time, small little bit like structure. The little bit like structure now we are called as a frog. It is now jumping into terrestrial from water. So adult frog. Next one. the stage adult frog. Here we can observe the classification here: kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Amphibia, clade Silentia, order is called as a Anura. We can observe here adult frog, very small diagram here, small picture. By week 12 to 16 it has grown to a fully developed frog. It is at this stage that they start to look for a mate and the cycle continues. The frog tail will eventually disappear completely and it will start to eat insects instead of plants from the water. Somewhat insects they are taking. Generally frog they have a bifurcated tongue. Okay, when insects are biting here, at the time they are catching the food material. The frog tail will eventually disappear completely and it will start to eat insects. Okay, the young frogs will grow for about 2 to 4 years to become an adult. 2 to 4 years become an adult. Now, continuation part. Now we can observe here the adult frog, small little bit like structure we can observe in this picture. An adult frog has a stout body, protruding eyes, anteriorly attached tongue, limbs folded underneath, and no tail. No tail means the tail is reducing. In this stage, the frog is doing respiration with the help of lungs. When lungs become functional, the tail is reducing. Frogs have glandular skin with the secretion ranging from distasteful to toxic. They have a glandular skin, okay, and secretion ranging from distasteful to toxic. Their skin varies in color. The skin color is somewhat different from well camouflaged. Camouflaged means changing the skin color. Dappled brown, grey and green to vivid pattern of bright red or yellow and black to show toxicity and void of predators. So each and every species they are surviving in this ecosystem. So each and every species they have to protect themselves. They have some specific functions from predation, and they are protecting likewise. Adult frog lives in fresh water on dry lands. Some species are adapted for living underground or in trees. See here small frog diagram, forelimbs and hind limbs. So we can observe small adult frog here in this picture. And somewhat changes. The changes is called as a progressive changes. What is the progressive changes here? Coming out of forelimbs and development of wormarian teeth, formation of nictitating membrane, okay, around the eyes, and appearance of toes, change in otic arches like adult frog, formation of middle ear and tympanum, increase in length of hind limbs, development of joints, and last point, that is the enlargement of tongue. So this is the progressive changes. And next one, that is the regressive changes: disappearance of tail, horny-jaw, lateral line system, operculum chamber, closure of gills. So these are called as a regressive changes. We can observe here in this picture the frog. So in here the field visit, small little bit like structure, that is the frog we observe here. And next one, some changes, that is the physiological changes: increase in function of liver and metabolism stated by Monroe scientist. Endocrine function of pancreas starts stated by Oblus. Ammonia change into urea stated by radiant scientist. Number of digestive enzymes are increasing and autolysis of gills and tail, change water balance of the body, change in visual pigments. Okay, so these are called as a what is that physiological changes we can observe in this picture. Tail with frog and tail without frog, both we can observe here in physiological changes. So thank you. Here these all stages of tadpoles here I collected in my field visit at Bellapur village, Manur Mandal, near to Manjira river during the rainy season in the month of June and July 2020-21, or in this period, that is the COVID time. This field work which I did in spite of many hurdles, I hope it will be useful to the students. So the frog is very important role in this ecosystem. Not only frog, all species. If we disturb any species, the food chain is somewhat changing, or it is defects some organisms. So it is a chain-like structure. Chain-like structure. We have to protect each and every species. If fishes or amphibians or reptilians or birds or mammals, each and every species they have a dependable organisms. For example, if plants are there, animals also there. Okay, if animals also there, dependable organisms also survive. They will survive. So likewise, ecological food chains, food web is going on. If any disbalance of these species, next species will not survive. For example, grass, grasshopper, frog, snake, hawk. So it is one of the food web. Don't disturb our ecological food chains or ecological food webs. So it is very important species in this ecosystem, frog. So we have to protect our species, frogs, birds, okay, and mammals, wildlife animals, etc., etc. So thanking you once again. Thank you very much. If it is very clear, I hope we understood very well. Please subscribe my channel. Thanking you. Thank you once again. Save birds, save nature, save our ecosystem. Thanking you.